At 60, some men don't stop dating. They stop chasing. And the reason isn't what people assume. Not rage, not bitterness, not giving up on love. It's clarity. It's cost. It's peace. Because a lot of older men are quietly stepping back. Not loudly, not publicly, quietly. Drop your city in the comments. And if you're a man over 50, listen close. Because this will feel familiar. Stay to the end. I'll give you the one question older men use to judge every relationship. Without saying it out loud, this shift rarely happens in one dramatic moment. No big breakup speech, no viral rant, no "I'm done with women" post. Older men don't announce they're finished. They fade, they reply later, they plan less, they cancel faster, they stop explaining. And if you want to spot it in real time, here are the 3 tells. 1. He stops making future plans. 2. His messages get shorter, cleaner, colder. 3. He stops trying to win the conversation. Not because he's petty, because he's done negotiating. From the outside, it looks like he lost interest. From the inside, it feels like finally breathing, because after 60, time gets expensive, energy gets limited, and calm becomes a currency. Here's the first thing many men notice when they step back. Silence. Not lonely silence. Clean silence. No tension in the room, no decoding moods, no walking on eggshells. A quiet home starts to feel like a sanctuary. A simple routine starts to feel like medicine. And once a man tastes that kind of peace, he starts doing math. How much does this relationship cost my nervous system? How long does it take me to recover after an argument? What does it do to my sleep, my appetite, my blood pressure? Because when you're 25, you can recover from drama overnight. When you're 60, you can carry it for a week. And at this age, stress is not abstract. Stress has symptoms. So a lot of men reach a point where they think, I'm not paying that price anymore. Now here's the second realization, and it's the one men rarely say out loud. It's not that he felt unloved, it's that he felt unseen. For decades, many men were trained to be useful, provide, fix, carry and absorb, stay steady, stay quiet. They handled problems so the house could stay standing. They drove the long trips. They paid the bills. They got up early. They stayed calm when things got chaotic. And sometimes the reward was more expectations. His effort becomes the minimum requirement. His loyalty gets taken for granted. His boundaries get tested, then ignored. And this doesn't always create anger. It creates shutdown. He stops arguing, stops proving, stops auditioning for basic respect. Not to punish anyone, to protect what's left of him. Let me make this balanced. This is not men good, women bad. There are peaceful women. There are chaotic men. There are selfish people on both sides. But older men do notice patterns because they've lived through them. And by 60, most men have paid for red flags. Not with money, with years. So they learn a new definition of attraction. It's not just beauty, not just chemistry, not just charm, it's nervous system safety. Because older men finally learn the difference between companionship and chaos. When he was younger, he tolerated mood swings. He called it passion. He tolerated disrespect wrapped in jokes. He called it just her personality. He tolerated emotional tests. He called it love. At 60, he calls it what it is, stress. And the moment he senses constant criticism, manipulation, emotional volatility, or a relationship that turns every small problem into a crisis, he disconnects, not loudly, internally. He can still be polite, still be friendly, still show up to family events, but emotionally, he steps away. And here's what confuses people. Older men don't always come back. Because they've learned something, younger men learn later repair only works when both people want repair. If the pattern repeats, he stops volunteering for the cycle. And there's another thing older men stop doing. They stop apologizing just to end the fight. When he was younger, he would say sorry to restore peace, even when he didn't understand what he did wrong. At 60, he chooses a different peace, the peace of not being manipulated by conflict. Now add modern dating on top of that, and it gets worse, because a lot of older men feel like dating today isn't built for them. To them, it feels like walking into a courtroom. They don't know the laws, but they're still expected to perform perfectly. Initiate, plan, pay, lead, entertain, stay confident, stay romantic, stay emotionally available, never mess up. And older men notice something else. Everything feels faster, but less sincere. One wrong message and you're blocked. One awkward date and you're replaced. Endless options, endless comparison, endless evaluation. So some men step back and think, I don't want to compete. I want to connect. And if he senses entitlement or a transactional vibe like love is being exchanged for resources, his interest drops fast. Not because women are bad, not because men are victims, because imbalance is exhausting. And older men are finally honest about what drains them. They want mutual effort, mutual respect, mutual warmth. They don't want to be inspected. They want to be appreciated. Here's a detail you might miss. Older men are hypersensitive to disrespect, especially subtle disrespect. Not loud disrespect, not screaming, subtle. The eye roll, the sarcasm, the "you're old, you wouldn't get it." The tone that says, "You're lucky I'm here." A man can handle disagreement. What he won't tolerate is contempt, because contempt is the beginning of the end. And by 60, most men have seen how that movie ends. So they draw a line. He refuses to be treated like an ATM, a backup plan, an emotional punching bag. And when he senses that line being crossed, he doesn't argue for hours. He doesn't beg. He doesn't negotiate his dignity. He chooses himself. That's why it looks like he stopped caring. But what really happened is he stopped tolerating. Now here's the twist most people miss. A lot of older men aren't scared of being alone. Solitude can be healing. Silence can be refreshing. Living on your own schedule can feel like oxygen. You wake up when you want, you eat what you want, you go where you want. Your home stays calm, and your nervous system stays calm. So when someone says, "Aren't you afraid of being alone?" Some men think, "I've been alone inside relationships." That's the loneliness paradox. You can have a partner and still feel unseen, or you can be single and finally feel peaceful. And once a man falls in love with that freedom, he becomes extremely selective about who enters his life. Because by 60, many men have built a sanctuary, a home that feels safe, routines that keep them grounded, hobbies that bring them back to themselves, walking, gym, reading, music, faith, nature, simple pleasures. And when your life feels complete, you stop chasing anything that destabilizes it. You stop chasing to prove you still have it. You stop chasing to feel chosen. You stop chasing because you're bored. You start choosing on purpose. Now let's talk about the part nobody wants to admit. Some people aren't looking for partnership. They're looking for relief, comfort, convenience, security, attention, an audience, a provider. And older men can sense that faster than they used to. Because they've been there. They've watched their value get measured by what they give. They've felt like love came with a price tag. They felt like their role mattered more than their personhood. So when a man hears questions that feel like an interview, what do? Do you own your home? Are you still working? How much do you make? What can you provide? He doesn't always get angry. He gets guarded because a senior man has worked decades to build stability, savings, retirement, a home, a plan. He's not trying to gamble that on someone who doesn't genuinely care about him. Again, there are women who love deeply and purely. This isn't an accusation, it's a filter. Older men just don't want to pay twice for the same lesson. And there's another factor people underestimate: health. After 60, a bad relationship isn't just emotionally draining, it can be physically dangerous. Stress affects sleep, sleep affects immune function, stress affects blood pressure. Blood pressure affects everything. So older men start protecting their peace the way they protect their health. If the relationship spikes stress, he feels it in his body, and his body starts voting. He withdraws. He sleeps better. He feels calmer. He thinks clearer. And then he asks himself, why would I go back? Now let's make this practical. What does an older man actually want? Not perfection, not constant excitement, not someone who never makes mistakes. He wants 3 things, and they're simple. 1, calm. He wants to feel his shoulders drop when you walk in. 2, respect. In your tone, in your patience, in the way you disagree. 3, reciprocity. He wants to feel met halfway, not evaluated, not tested, not managed. He wants partnership. Because the men who step back aren't always rejecting love. They're rejecting chaos. And this is where the chasing stops. Not because he can't, because he won't. He's not chasing ambiguity. He's not chasing hot and cold. He's not chasing disrespect disguised as standards. He's chasing peace. Or he's not chasing at all. Now remember the question I promised. The one older men silently ask. How do I feel in her presence? Calm, respected, safe, or tense, drained, on trial? If the answer isn't peace, his interest fades, not because she isn't beautiful, not because she isn't good enough, because she doesn't match the life he's trying to protect. And when that life finally feels good, he won't trade it. Not for attention, not for chemistry, not for the old patterns. So if you're a man over 50 and this hit home, comment peace. And if you're a woman watching, here's the perspective that changes everything. The man who steps back isn't always rejecting you. He might be rejecting a dynamic. Bring calm, bring respect, bring partnership. Because the right man isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for peace. Follow for more unspoken truths about relationships and self-respect. No drama, no blame, just clarity.